On June 20th, 2019, Action Together Connecticut mobilized its membership to deliver urgent letters of support for legislation calling for oversight on the mistreatment of asylum-seeking migrants at the U.S. southern border and in U.S. detention centers. Action Together teams organized by district to visit local offices of their representatives to the U.S. Congress. This visit was the third in a series of unified visits of concerned constituents to every U.S. congressional office in the state, including Representatives Larson, DeLaurel, Courtney, and Himes. Members of the 5th District Group visited Jahana Hayes' office in Waterbury. They gathered briefly to go over the plan before entering the office. Alex Villamil would deliver the prepared statement signed by the group. Representative Hayes has had many conversations with Action Together, and although the group knew she would not be there, they knew the message would be delivered.
Our concern right now is what's going on at the border. We'd like to ask Jahana to help out all the refugees, everything that's going on, all the atrocities. All these good people come from different parts of our district, District 5. Well, everything that we read, that we've been reading for the past 2 weeks, prompted us to come here. Immigrants have been kept outside, exposed to the elements, and this happened last week, in 90-plus degree heat for extended periods near a bridge in El Paso in conditions described as a human dog pound. An Inspector General report last month found severe overcrowding inside an El Paso processing center with 76 migrants packed into a tiny cell designed for a maximum of 12 people. Investigators saw immigrants standing on top of toilets to make room and find space to breathe because the cell was so cramped. Lastly, recently, 37 children as young as 5 years old were left in a van under the hot sun for up to 39 hours. This senseless and cavalier approach toward people who seek refuge within our borders is unconscionable and must be put to an end. As your constituents, we ask you to urge your colleagues in Congress, as well as Speaker Pelosi, to stop the mismanagement, hold hearings that take the aforementioned atrocities into account, and hold accountable those agencies who have brought on the current state of affairs. Most importantly, we urge you in the strongest possible terms to install proper oversight measures. The lack of oversight cannot be further tolerated. We welcome the influx of resources to help the situation, but throwing money at the problem does not ensure that the well-being of those most in need will be addressed. Only an independent body can better ensure that people seeking refuge within our borders will be treated in a humane, just, and dignified way. Respectfully, Alex Villamil, our board.
I just want to say that we know that we have a very sympathetic ally with Congresswoman Hayes. We would just really like to see her move a little further from sympathetic ally to really outspoken advocate. We would love for her to be a leader on this issue. We feel as people of conscience, and we know she's one of them, that we've got to be loud and we've got to treat this with the urgency that it deserves, because these are real people's lives hanging in the balance.
Cindy?
As a person of Jewish descent, what I see there scares me. It looks too reminiscent of what's happened to my family, generations, people who didn't make it to America, and I want us to stop it now before it gets any worse.
These atrocities that Alex mentioned, those are the ones we know about. How many, because of lack of transparency, are going on that we do not know about? We need to find out.
We're talking about the well-being of young children, the most vulnerable. The history of the Japanese internment camps is a stain on American history, and I believe that if we don't stop what's happening now at the border, this will also be a stain. It already is, and the potential for it to get worse is disturbing, and it is real.
We're asking you, please don't be a bystander that's sympathetic. We need you to be an upstander. Stand up, act now, speak out loudly, and be our voice for us. Please, we need you.
Yeah, we're going to pass this along to the Congresswoman. As you said, she does have you have an ally in her, but we can see more of Congress overall on this. So having this and knowing that her constituents want something is important to her. So we're going to pass this along to her on a personal basis. This is important for us, just as it is professionally. So, and Jahana hired us here for a reason. So we will certainly pass along the passion and that you guys were physically here and standing alongside each other for this.
Action Together wanted to show its support for her efforts to make those responsible accountable for their mistreatment of those detained at the border, and to create independent oversight of U.S. detention centers to prevent further humanitarian offenses. What brought you here today?
I'm here because I am part of Action Together with Alex. I met him because he's so driven and I wanted to support him, and what's going on right now is really devastating, and I'm also Jewish, so knowing that we have to stop this now to make sure it doesn't lead to bigger things is really important, so that's why I'm here.
All it takes is for good people to do nothing. We have to act. We have to speak for the people without voices.
Elie Wiesel always said, if not me, who? If not now, when? Now is the time to stand up to help those that can't speak for themselves.
When you hear about the Holocaust, you think, I would have fought the Nazis, I would have hidden Jewish people in my home. But now is another time when our country is committing human rights abuses, and we have to do something about it.
This is not about what party you're voting for. This is about human lives. And so there's not enough noise about this right now, and we want to make sure that there is consistent oversight.
Here's how you can help right now. Call your U.S. representative and U.S. senators' offices and let them know that this is a humanitarian crisis, not an issue about politics. This is about human lives, including infants and children. Ask them to sign and actively fight for H.R. 2415, the Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act. Also ask them to do all they can to immediately end the humanitarian crisis in these detention centers. Request there be funding for independent oversight and needed resources. Also, demand that those responsible be held accountable so this never happens again. As always, when you call, be polite and respectful, but be firm. If you're in Connecticut and you care about social justice, the environment, equity for all, and supporting the greater good, join Action Together Connecticut. Find our group on Facebook and join your county's group.